At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Calaroga Shark Media.
From Washington, D.C., where he got you to stop talking about the parade, this is Ballot.
That's right, but let me tell you about this cool new Trump phone I got. President Trump is back in Washington after cutting his Canadian G7 summit short, and he's got some travel advice for the residents of Tehran. Pack light and pack fast. Trump posted on Truth Social urging everyone in Iran's capital to evacuate immediately, telling the city's roughly 10 million residents they should immediately evacuate Tehran. Now, when the President of the United States suggests you might want to find somewhere else to be, that's not exactly a gentle recommendation. The President had been telling Iran for days that they should make a deal, but his messaging has escalated from "let's talk" to "you might want to consider relocating." He warned people to leave before it's too late, which is the kind of phrasing that makes real estate agents very nervous. French President Emmanuel Macron told reporters that Trump was rushing back to Washington to work on a ceasefire. Trump's response was swift and definitive. Wrong. He posted on Truth Social that Macron has no idea why I am now on my way to Washington, but it certainly has nothing to do with a ceasefire. Much bigger than that. That's quite the correction. Trump essentially told the French president, "Thanks for playing, but you don't know what you're talking about," which is probably not what they teach you in diplomacy school. Trump explained he was returning to hold meetings in the White House Situation Room and wanted to be more well-versed, not having to use telephones so much. Apparently, the president prefers his crisis management to be done in person, which makes sense. Some conversations are just too important for Zoom. He's been consistent about one thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. The all-caps approach really drives the point home. When a president starts typing in all capitals, you know the situation has moved beyond strongly worded letters. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth described the growing U.S. military presence in the region as defensive, which is military speak for "we're just here to keep an eye on things." He also said Trump still wants a deal over Iran's nuclear program, though at this point, that negotiation would have to happen over a very long table. Meanwhile, both progressive and conservative lawmakers are working on a resolution that would require congressional approval before Trump could attack Iran. Because apparently, even in the middle of an international crisis, Congress wants to make sure the paperwork is in order. The timing is particularly interesting. Trump told Canada's Prime Minister that Iran should talk immediately before it's too late, which sounds less like diplomacy and more like a final warning. When the leader of the free world starts giving you deadlines, and that's generally not a good sign for your weekend plans. This all comes as Israel has stepped up attacks on Iranian cities, and both countries are exchanging what military analysts politely call volleys of airstrikes, which is a fancy way of saying that they're trying to blow each other up with increasing enthusiasm. Trump told reporters on Air Force One that he wants something better than a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, which is interesting phrasing. That's like saying you want something better than a truce. It's either peace or someone's getting their nuclear facilities turned into very expensive parking lots. The president said he wants a real end, not a ceasefire, and that Iran should give up and abandon their nuclear program. He also mentioned he's not too much in the mood to negotiate. Now, I don't know about you, but when someone says they're not in the mood to negotiate while sitting on the world's largest military, that's what we call a strong opening position. Meanwhile, this has become the most intense war ever fought between Israel and Iran, which is saying something considering these two countries have been giving each other the stink eye since the Carter administration. Israel announced Tuesday they killed another Iranian general, Major General Ali Shadmani. This guy had been on the job for exactly 4 days. The general he replaced, Lieutenant General Gholam Ali Rashid, was killed on Friday, the first day of hostilities. So Iran's military leadership is currently experiencing what you might call rapid turnover. Israel has now taken out at least 11 senior Iranian generals, which has to be some kind of record. Iran's military chain of command is getting rearranged more often than deck chairs on the Titanic. The casualties are mounting on both sides. Iranian health officials report at least 224 people killed and over 1,400 injured. In Israel, 24 dead and around 600 injured. And yet, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is signaling openness to resuming nuclear talks with the United States. That's like asking someone out on a date while their house is on fire. Trump has been encouraging his Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, and Vice President J.D. Vance to potentially meet with Iranian officials this week, which should be interesting. Trying to schedule a diplomatic meeting while missiles are flying overhead is the ultimate test of calendar management skills. The G7 leaders issued a joint statement calling for de-escalation, though Trump initially refused to sign an earlier draft. He eventually came around, probably after someone explained that de-escalation doesn't mean boring. Israeli officials want the United States to join their military campaign against Iran's nuclear program. They've been making the case that only America has the planes and bombs needed to hit Iran's most deeply buried nuclear facility. That's quite the sales pitch. Hey, we need to borrow your really big bombs to hit this really deep bunker. Trump hasn't said whether the U.S. would get involved militarily, which is probably the right move. The last thing this situation needs is more confusion about who's shooting at whom.
What happens when one of the most powerful men in music is accused of some of the most serious crimes imaginable? Check out the new podcast, Did He Do It? Following the federal sex crimes trial of Sean Diddy Combs, coming to you straight from New York City. Every day I'll take you inside the courtroom where prosecutors say Combs ran a criminal enterprise of sex trafficking, coercion, and abuse, using his fame, fortune, and influence to silence victims and control lives. We'll cover the big stories and the small moments that can shift the verdict. The trial has begun. The questions are piling up, and every day we'll be asking the same thing. Did he do it? Follow now wherever you get your podcasts.
World War III is distracting us from making fun of the Trump phone. The Trump Organization announced Monday that they're getting into the mobile phone business, which raises the obvious question, what could possibly go wrong? Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. unveiled Trump Mobile exactly 10 years after their father rode down that golden escalator to announce his first presidential campaign. The timing is either incredibly sentimental or incredibly calculated, probably both. The centerpiece of this venture is a $499 gold-toned Android phone called the T1, which will supposedly be designed and manufactured in the United States. Now, there's just one tiny problem with this plan. The United States doesn't really make smartphones anymore. In fact, only one phone costing $2,000 is currently manufactured here, which makes the Trump family's pricing strategy either very ambitious or very optimistic. The Trump Organization is licensing the family name to a separate company called T1 Mobile LLC, which incorporated in Florida in late April. So technically, the Trumps are just lending their name to the venture, which is the business equivalent of saying, "I'm not touching you," while holding your finger an inch from someone's face. But here's where things get interesting. The company is offering a flagship 47 plan for $47.45 a month, a reference to Trump being the 47th president. The plan supposedly includes 24/7 telemedicine services, which sounds great until you realize that telemedicine typically costs much more than $47 a month by itself. Don Hendrickson, a Trump Mobile team member, claims subscribers could connect with a doctor and obtain and fill a prescription at a pharmacy, all at no additional cost. That's quite the promise. Most people pay more than $47 just to park at a doctor's office, let alone get a consultation and prescription filled. The company's website mentions that an independent third party would handle the telemedicine service, which sounds like they're still working out the details. Eric Trump told Fox Business that they don't want to manufacture overseas, saying, "We don't want to do that in India," which is admirable, except for the small matter of how exactly they plan to build smartphones in a country that doesn't have the infrastructure to build smartphones. Portions of today's show were made with the help of AI.
My name is Marcus Cole. I coordinated operations you'll never read about. January 2018, Tehran. We stole Iran's nuclear secrets from a warehouse in 6 hours. That heist began 7 years of shadow war that ended with Operation Rising Lion and a new podcast from Calaroga Shark Media. My brother died in 2002. I've been carrying his dog tags and calculating impossible decisions ever since, trading lives like variables in an equation. Every operation saves some people by destroying others. I keep a private file of everyone who died because of missions I planned. Their names, their families, their dreams I helped destroy. This is the story of how we prevented nuclear war and what it cost us to become the monsters who saved the world. Operation Rising Lion, the new podcast from Calaroga Shark Media, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Want this podcast without commercial interruptions or feed drops? Calaroga Plus is just $5 a month, and you'll get this show ad-free. Plus, we've just added the full first seasons of Eastwood Reloaded and Crown and Controversy, so you can binge listen our new series without a single interruption. Calaroga Plus gives you palace intrigue, 5 good news stories, daily comedy news, 5 daily trivia questions, and all the other shows on the Calaroga Shark Media Network, totally ad-free. For just $5 a month, it's the best deal going. Apple Podcast users can even get a 30-day free trial by clicking the banner that says uninterrupted listening. If you're on any other app, head to calaroga.com/plus. Link in the show notes. Don't wait. Get your uninterrupted content now. Apple Podcast users click that banner that says uninterrupted listening. If you're on any other app, head to calaroga.com/plus. Link in the show notes.
You know the silhouette, the squint, the voice that cuts like a blade. Clint Eastwood isn't just a movie star. He's a myth, a mayor, a cultural fault line, and maybe the last great American icon. Eastwood Reloaded tells his story one chapter at a time. The hits, the flops, the chaos between the scenes. Because legends aren't born, they're built. Eastwood Reloaded. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.